Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing? This is Patricia doing your Thursday online Bible Cafe. Um, I want to, well, one, I had planned on coming back after the holidays. I put out a post saying that, but I didn't. It was life events kept me from going back immediately after the holidays as I planned. So I'm back to God's work right now. So I'll be doing my lessons every Thursday at 7 p.m. And so, like I stated on a reminder of me going live last week, I didn't go, but going live last week. This week's lesson is Mark chapter 9, verse 14 through 29. So I'm going to start with verse 14 from the Bible, and it reads, "When they came to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd around them, and the teachers of the law arguing with them." Excuse me. As soon as all the people saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with wonder and ran to greet him. And I broke that verse down using BibleHub.com. I used the pulpit commentary, and the breakdown as follows. It hardly seems likely that the amazement of the people was simply caused by our Lord having arrived at an opportune time to relieve his disciples of their difficulty. Even if there were no remains of the transfiguration glory upon his countenance, the vivid recollection of the scene of the conversation with Moses and Elijah and the subject of it and the voice of the Father excuse me, must have invested his countenance with a peculiar majesty and dignity. This is the breakdown also continued from 15. There was no doubt something then in his countenance which astonished them. The multitude running to him saluted him. The scribes had not been able to shake their faith. In their view, he was still that prophet that should come into the world. Verse 16 from the Bible reads, excuse me. Verse 16 from the Bible reads, "What are you arguing with them about?" he asked. And I broke down this verse using BibleHub.com. I used the Matthew Henry's commentary. And this breakdown of verse 16 is, "The father of the suffering youth reflected on the want of power in the disciples, but Christ will have him reckon the disappointment to the want of faith." Excuse me. "Very much is promised to our believing. If thou can't believe, it is possible that thy hard heart may be softened. The spiritual diseases may be cured, and weak as thou art, they mayest be able to hold out to the end." Verse 17 from the Bible reads, "A man in the crowd answered, 'Teacher, I brought you my son who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech.'" And I broke this verse down using BibleHub.com. I used the Matthew Henry commentary. And it reads as follows. "Those that complain of unbelief must look up to Christ for grace to help them against it, and this grace will be sufficient for them. Whom Christ cures, he cures effectively. But Satan is unwilling to be driven from those that have been long his slaves." Long his slaves. Woo, that is just a heavy thought right there. Long his slaves, and when he cannot achieve of destroying the sinner, he will cause all the terror that he can. Refuses to give them up. Verse 18 from the Bible reads, whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they could not. Now I broke this verse down using BibleHub.com, and I used the pulpit commentary, and it reads as follows. Verse 18, it seized hold of him, the Greek word from which comes our catalepsy, the active form of epilepsy. It teared him. This is doubtless the literal meaning, but there much evidence to show that it means here, it strike it or throw it him down. Verse 19 from the Bible reads, excuse me. Verse 19 from the Bible reads, you unbelieving generation, this is Jesus, this is a quote, you unbelieving generation, end of quote. Jesus replied, quote, how long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me, end of quote. Now I broke this verse down using BibleHub.com. I used the pulpit commentary, and verse 19 reads as follows. O faithless generation. These words were no doubt intended primarily as a rebuke to the Jews and their scribes, though not without a glance at the weakness of faith of his own disciples. The words are the complaint of one weary of the unbelief of the masses and of the weakness of faith in even his own. Verse 20 from the Bible reads, so they brought him. When the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. I broke this verse down using BibleHub.com. I used the pulpit commentary, and the breakdown verse 20 reads, the boy's father, it would seem, was not able himself to bring him. So fierce and violent were the I should have looked this word up, paroxysms of the disorder. It might be rendered convulsed him grievously. The sight of Christ stirred the evil spirit dwelling in the child. He was irritated by the presence of Christ, for he knew he was power, and feared lest he should be cast out. Excuse me. Verse 21 from the Bible. Verse 21 from the Bible reads, Jesus asked the boy's father, how long has he been like this? End of quote. From childhood, he answered. Verse 22, it has often thrown him into a fire or water to kill him. But if you can't do anything, take pity on us and help us. I broke this verse down using BibleHub.com. I used the Jamison Fawcett Brown commentary. And verse 22 reads as follows. But if thou can't do anything, have compassion on us and help us, say the father, for it was a sore family affliction. The man is but struggling into faith. It must come a step farther, but he had but he had to do with him who breaks not the bruised reed, and who knew how to inspire what he demanded. The man had said to him, quote, if thou canst do, end of quote. Verse 23 from the Bible reads, quote, if you can, end of quote, said Jesus, quote, Everything is possible for one who believes, end of quote. That is a powerful verse right there. Verse 23, verse Mark 9:23. If you can, quote, said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. That is a powerful, powerful verse. But I broke that verse down using BibleHub.com. I used the Benson Henry commentary. And verse 23 reads as follows. Canst rely with the confidence on my power, love, and faithfulness, and be persuaded that I can and will grant thy request. The deliverance which thou desirest will surely be effected, for all things are possible to God. And all things of this kind, such as the deliverance of a person's soul or body from the power of Satan, or the recovery of a person from sickness or from calamity or trouble, are possible to him that believeth in the power and the goodness of God. This is verse 23, and it's continued. And it says, and makes application to him in prayer, lifting up holy hands as without... excuse me, I'm gone, leaving behind what I'm supposed to be reading. And makes application to him in prayer, lifting up holy hands as without wrath and every unkind temper, so without doubting. So we must believe, just simply believe in the power. Okay, verse 24 from the Bible reads, 24 from the Bible reads, immediately the boy's father exclaimed, quote, I do believe, help me overcome my unbelief, end of quote. And I broke this verse down using BibleHub.com, the Matthew Henry commentary, and verse 24 reads as follows, those that complain of unbelief must look up to Christ for grace to help them against it, and his grace will be sufficient for them. Whom Christ cures, he cures effectively. Verse 25 from the Bible reads, when Jesus saw that a crowd was running to the scene, he rebuked the impure spirit. This is a quote, and he said, you deaf and mute spirit, he said, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. I broke that verse down using BibleHub.com. I used the Matthew Henry's commentary, and it reads as follows. Verse 25, but Satan is unwilling to be driven from those that have been long his slaves. And when he cannot deceive or destroy the sinner, he will cause him all the terror that he can. You all, this lesson was pretty long. I guess that's making up for all the time that I've been not on live. I guess this is like 2 lessons as one, but I only have a few more pages left. So let me get there. Verse 26 from the Bible reads, the spirit shrieked, convulsed him violently, and came out. The boy looked so much like a corpse that many said he's dead. I broke that verse down using the BibleHub.com. I used the pulpit commentary, and it reads as follows. The rest of the narrative shows how malignant and powerful this evil spirit was, who dared so to resist and defy Christ that in his departure out of the afflicted boy, he almost robbed him of life. Verse 27 from the Bible reads, but Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up to his feet and he stood up. I broke this verse down with a commentary from myself, and these lessons, like I said, I'm a few ahead because, as I told you all, I took a break, so I'm gonna read what I wrote. It's interesting what I put, but let me I did a breakdown. I said, but Jesus often take us, his disciples, by our hand when we come out of our trials and tribulations today and forever. Oh, that wasn't nothing. But it's just something I just added. Y'all know I always add a little something every blue moon. Okay, verse 28 reads, After Jesus had gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, quote, Why couldn't we drive it out? End of quote. I broke that verse down using Christianity.com, and 28 reads as follows. The father of the youth reflected on the want of power in the disciples, but Christ will have him reckon the disappointment to the want of faith. Those that complain of unbelief must look up to Christ and forget and for grace to help them against it, and his grace will be sufficient for them. Whom Christ cures, he cures effectively. But Satan is unwilling to be driven from those that have been long his slaves. And when he cannot deceive and destroy the sinner, he will cause him all the terror that he can. May I help you? Okay, y'all, this is the last verse. Verse 29. Ooh, it didn't look like the end was near, but this is the end. Verse 29 from the Bible reads, He replied, quote, This kind can come out on my only by prayer, end of quote. BibleHub.com, I use the pulpit commentary. And this one reads as follows, the breakdown. The disciples must not think to do their work always. With the same ease, some services call for more than ordinary pains. Ooh, that was a long lesson. I don't think I had that lesson that long ago. Wow. Okay. Excuse me. That's the end of that's the end of this lesson. I want to apologize. I'm back to doing God's work. So I'll see you all next Thursday at 7 o'clock. And next Thursday, now this lesson, I didn't go live from, but next week I will be live. Next week's lesson will be Jesus predicts his death a second time. And that's Mark chapter 9, verse 30 through 30. Through 37. Mark 9, verse 30 through 37. And that will be next Thursday at 7 o'clock. I'll do that lesson. And I want to say, you all have a great rest of your week and a great weekend. And I'll see you all next week, if God is willing and able. Y'all have a great one. Bye.